the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes. Welcome to Locked On Cardinals. Alex Clancy, Bo Brack. Follow him at Bob Brack, Bobrack. Follow me at Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by Locked On Fantasy Football. Winning your league starts with the right data. Vinny Iyer of the Sporting News provides you the edge you need in your fantasy football leagues. Locked On Fantasy Football. It's a daily podcast all year round, so your fantasy team never fails. Subscribe to the Locked On Fantasy Football podcast. Bo, we had a fun podcast yesterday. Marco Wilson, like when you first interview a 22-year-old kid, just been drafted, Cardinals traded up for him in the 4th round, was known mostly for throwing the shoe at Florida. I mean, aside from his play on the field, that was the lasting image that people had of him completely unfairly. Got a lot of insight. Not only does he play video games like Kyler Murray does, and he's part of a gaming team that you'll talk about here in a second, but just seems like a dude that wants to learn, and that's what he told us. You know, there's no ego there. There's obviously room to grow in the cornerback room, and he's decided to go in it with the mindset of, I'm going to show up every day to practice and do my best and learn, and we'll see what happens. Like, you asked him a very poignant question of, do you expect to start? Do you expect to play a lot this year? And he's like, no, I'm just here to learn, and the rest will come. So yeah, really interesting.
Yeah, it was. I thought that he was, I thought he said all the right things as far as what his expectations are for his rookie season and just how there are guys in that locker room that have way more experience than him. He doesn't have this big ego coming from Florida, which is basically a minor league organization for NFL teams. It produces a ton of talent, including Marco's brother Quincy in Indianapolis. And he's not going to be like, okay, look, I've got the pedigree. I'm coming from a big Power 5 school, a blue blood. And I should, have my claim to a starting role right away. I'm going to learn from guys like Malcolm Butler. I'm going to learn from guys like Byron Murphy and maybe Robert Alford if he can stay healthy and hopefully get my opportunities and take advantage of those. You like that. I think both Marco Wilson and Tay Gowan are going to surprise some people as 4th and 6th round picks for the first time in a long time as far as their draft position is concerned for the Arizona Cardinals, because they're going to have ideal opportunities. It's not going to be Byron Murphy thrown to the flames week 1 as a 2nd round pick, having to start opposite Tremaine Brock because Patrick Peterson was suspended and Robert Alford couldn't play because of the suspension. This is going to be a great opportunity for both those guys, and hopefully one of them, if one of them pops, if one of them shows that they can belong right away, that's going to be huge and pay off big dividends for the Arizona Cardinals in 2021.
Yeah, there's been a lot of surprises coming out of the state of Florida. It's a big state. It's a big football state. And after the draft, pundits were like, man, I cannot believe that Tay Gowan dropped that far. And the Cardinals made a good move by trading up and drafting Marco Wilson in the 4th round. So again, check it out. It's on our YouTube channel. We talk about Publix sandwiches. I still don't get it how a grocery store sandwich in Florida reigns supreme over all others, but pretty much anybody that's lived or visited Florida and had a Publix sandwich, Marco gives his thought on it as well. Kyler Murray gets his respect. We'll talk about that in the next segment. Rodney Hudson is exactly where we thought he was. We'll talk about him in the second and third segment. But first, for those that don't know, the Cardinals still have the same uniforms, and it seems like every team in the NFC West is kind of leading the charge on little twinges, little tweaks to their already eons ahead of the Arizona Cardinal uniforms. Seattle is the Oregon of the NFL, and the 49ers have already dropped their throwbacks earlier this offseason a couple weeks ago, and now the Rams are next in tow. Bo, they made a little change to theirs as well, right?
Yeah, they did. They released their alternate uniforms, and it was kind of a mix between the jerseys or the uniforms that were pretty heavily criticized last year when they revealed them. But it's a mix between like the throwbacks, the ones we're seeing on the horrible after school special looking Kurt Warner biopic that's coming out with Chuck, the guy who played Chuck apparently is Kurt Warner, who's got the worst throwing motion and longest release I've ever seen in my entire life. But those uniforms mix with the new school Rams uniforms. But yeah, I mean, you just have to. I think that they're an upgrade over what they unveiled last year. And I like that the Rams, I was trying to figure out, was this something that was expected for the fan base that they were going to release this? And I found like hints at some new uniforms and some alternate uniforms, but nothing concrete. Why don't the Arizona Cardinals just get with a designer and somebody just put out an alternate? Because I was watching the NBA playoffs this year, and the Utah Jazz used the entire color wheel. Basically, there's so many different uniforms for each NBA franchise. That's just how it's. Major League Baseball is going that way. Why don't the Arizona Cardinals do that at the NFL level? I don't know what the rules and restrictions are, but get in the game, keep up with the Joneses, excite a fan base even more so with some new duds.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, the person who designed the Valley jerseys for the Suns should be in charge for designing the new jerseys for the Cardinals.
Yes, absolutely.
When you look at, so this is the curve. Team comes out with new jerseys. Fans hate them for 10 minutes and then love them. Because people don't like change, even though the Cardinals jerseys are, I like the black ones a lot. I'm a huge fan of the black ones. I know the all red, people think, that's fine. I would like to see an all white color rush. I think that'd be sexy, but they need to look at what the Clippers did with their jerseys. Just throw out the colors. Just start over. Mm-hmm. Start over. What's the worst that could happen? You could sell all of the other ones as throwbacks because they've been around for seemingly 2 decades, and really just look at the financial opportunity if nothing else. If you are completely devoid of artistic integrity, artistic love, who cares? You'll make boatloads of money if you put out a new uniform, a new helmet, a new anything that you can market. This is a brand new organization. No Patrick Peterson, seemingly no Larry Fitzgerald. There is a culture where there's winning that's demanded like never before, even during that little pocket of Bruce Arians' time. Mm-hmm. It's time. It is time to just say, we're going to start over. I don't care if they wear a Kachina jersey uniform for 1 game a year. I don't know why those crossovers haven't happened yet. We see them all over social media. Imagine the Valley jersey in Arizona Cardinals uniform. It may look a little weird with football, but imagine the Kachina jersey, the Coyotes jersey on an Arizona Cardinals fit on a Sunday. Come on. Yeah. Get it. Just think outside the box.
I do think that they are probably hesitant because they have seen a bunch of the teams in the market go through so many, like the Arizona Diamondbacks. They seemingly change their uniform every other year, and they've had some pretty big eyesores. They really have. So I think that the Coyotes, they've gone through a couple different eras as far as their look, and then the Phoenix Suns, I think that's more on the NBA and how they've switched from a couple different uniform apparel manufacturers, and they finally got it right with Nike. But it's just so simple. Just throw a bunch of crap at the wall and see what sticks, and you'll find your new identity along the way, because you're not going to be heavily criticized. Everybody's doing it. Aside from the Green Bay Packers, who have, you can't touch that uniform. Hell, the San Francisco 49ers have a black uniform, they've got a throwback uniform, and then they've got their current, home, away, and alternate uniforms. The 49ers, who are a pretty traditional franchise.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, the crazy part is if you look at the majority of jerseys, they're boring. Yeah. You find something that works, like the Colts, you find something that works, and even though I think they're one of the more eyesore-ish jerseys in football, but just try to find get that bird off the helmet. I'm sorry. That's if I were running for city office, get the bird off the helmet.
What do you want on the helmet again?
I don't care. Write Bidwell on the on this. I don't give a crap. I'm joking.
I know you're joking. You want the state of Arizona?
Nothing.
You want nothing. You just want numbers. You want to
go Cardinals, Arizona, something. Get that bird off the helmet. Alex, Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked On Cardinals. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. I don't doubt that. It doesn't surprise me. We're doing this live. We're going to start shaking things up a little bit. We'll tell you on Friday how we're going to do so. We'll still be here 5 days a week. Don't worry about that. This is the good stuff. I mean, we're less than 2 months away from football. We are 59-ish days away from football. Greetings from Germany as well. Coming up next, Kyler Murray gets his due on a list that counts. And PFF has nothing to do with it, which is fantastic. First, Bo's got something to talk about.
I've got betonline.ag, of course, the fastest, easiest way to get all your sports betting action. Go to betonline.ag. You want action on game 4 of the NBA Finals? Why not go to betonline.ag? That's the best place to get it done. You also have the American League, National League matchup in the All-Star game tonight. I mean, you're flipping a coin, but you could get the American League at plus 1.5. There's some value there, but as far as the NBA Finals, the one that matters to the Valley most, Phoenix Suns plus 4.5, 4.5-point dogs on the road. Can they kind of get back into the groove that they were in the first 2 games of this series and take a commanding 3-1 lead? If you like that action, go to betonline.ag. Not only do they have all the betting action you can get, but of course they have news. They've got sign-up bonuses. Go to the website right now, your cell phone or on your computer, betonline.ag. Sign up today, and you'll get your 50% sign-up bonus. This thing is absolutely unbelievable. If you put in $100, you get $50 free to just use at your own disposal. You could just waste $50 on some random sport, or if you've got an inkling that the Suns are going to cover 4.5, go to betonline.ag. Get your free 50% sign-up bonus. Make the bet. You'll thank us later. Bet Online, your online sportsbook experts.
Alex Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked On Cardinals. Follow him at Bob Brack. Follow me at Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Please go subscribe to our YouTube channel. Picking up momentum after what it's been about a month, Bo, that we've been on there. Appreciate everybody that subscribed. Tell your friends, tell your siblings, tell your parents. Go subscribe. It's going to be an incredible 2021 season for Locked On Cardinals. We've got some more guests coming down the pipeline. Got one of the best sports bettors or sports handicappers in America is going to join us before the season. Just messaged with him a couple days ago. Really good things are coming here for the Locked On Cardinals podcast. Thank you to everybody who listens, watches, subscribes. Leave us some positive feedback on Apple Podcasts. I got into a little tiff with some Ravens fans a couple months ago because they don't want to hear the truth when it comes to their quarterback. And we got left a slew of 1-star reviews from Cosmo Kramer, proctologist was one of them, said that I'm the worst host in America because I have too much. That's right, because I have biased takes, and that's why when you should see some of the DMs that I got from Ravens fans when I pretty much said Lamar Jackson isn't a good passer. So please help us right the ship there with our ratings on Apple Podcasts. They got jettisoned by angry Ravens fans.
Lamar Jackson, who they won't allow media to catch film of him throwing this.
Right, because he might be throwing underhand. He might be rig burying it at this point. Might be shooting free throws underhand. Okay, so NFL execs made their list of the top 10 quarterbacks. We went over inside linebackers, off-ball linebackers, edge rushers, etc. Let's first talk about Rodney Hudson. Let's talk about Rodney Hudson for a second. We'll push Kyler to the third segment. So it's going to be a little bit beefier. Rodney Hudson gets traded for a third-round pick by the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals overpaid for Rodney Hudson. If you don't think that they did, you're wrong, because he was cut. His contract was voided by the Las Vegas Raiders. And then they're like, whoopsie, we can actually get a draft pick for him. Steve Keim reaches out, rightfully so, says we need a center. And you know what? It was the good move. They did overpay for him, but it was a good move. Correct? We're on the same page there still, Bo?
Yeah, I mean, it secured him. Yeah, it got him in the building. It wasn't right. They weren't going to get in a bidding war with somebody who could come in, whether Rodney Hudson wanted to go to a different location or he wanted to play with different teammates. Steve Keim took that off the table. He said, we're going to acquire him if it's worth the third-round pick to us. And if you look at this, if the NFL execs are right, and he is, he plays up to his potential or his ranking, then yeah, it's worth every the draft capital that they spent.
Yeah, and Corey Linsley got a 6-year, $52 million deal, I believe.
Yeah.
So it was like you look at a third-round pick and 5 years, $62 million with 17 fully guaranteed. So I'm sure they'll front load the hell out of that. But still, didn't have to pay for him. You just had to get third-round pick. So he comes in at 9th overall in centers in the NFL. And if I were to tell you, hey,
it's interior
lineman. Sorry. So if I were to tell you, Bo, that you could trade a third-round pick for the 9th overall interior offensive lineman in the NFL. Would you do it?
Yeah, no doubt
100
about
times
it.
out of 100. So
Yeah.
that is going to be, as I've called it, the spine of the offensive line. You have your bookends with DJ Humphries. Kevin Beachum has been a vision since he's come here. It's been above average, and especially for the price point, that's been an incredible Steve Keim Houdini act that almost makes us forget about Andre Smith, but doesn't. Almost makes us forget about Mason Cole, but doesn't. Almost makes us forget about Justin Pugh, but doesn't. So now you have the guys up front that should open up the A gap for James Conner and Chase Edmonds a little bit more than what Mason Cole did last year. It should allow Kyler Murray a little bit more time protection-wise in the pocket if he chooses to use it before he inevitably moves out of the pocket and uses his legs to extend plays. Are the Cardinals set there going in? So say no more moves are made.
Mm-hmm.
You have Justin Pugh on the left side. You have Justin Murray, maybe. Josh Jones, maybe on that right guard position. Are you happy with where the Cardinals are in the offensive line situation going into the 2021 season?
I mean, with Rodney Hudson and DJ Humphries, you get the quality. With everybody else, you kind of just flood the other positions with numbers. And there's continuity there at least. You know, you've got Justin Pugh coming back. You've got guys that have been within the organizational walls for the last couple of seasons. And there's depth there for the first time in a long time. And they were building that way last year. This is, as we saw, the last 2 years have been all about Kyler Murray and his maturation. Kyler Murray proved that he can be one of the better quarterbacks in the league. We'll talk about where he's ranked according to NFL execs, and I think it's pretty spot on. But it was all about Kyler Murray. But we've seen Cliff Kingsbury thrives. His best opportunity to be a successful NFL head coach is when that run game is just absolutely just rolling.
What's the
and
stat?
When you can 10-2 when they rush for over 150 yards. But I think you would probably find that with most head coaches. I haven't punched the numbers in for everybody else, but when you have that run-pass balance, it just keeps the defense at bay, and you can do a lot of good things, especially when you're a pass-happy coach like Cliff Kingsbury. But we know that he loves Chase Edmonds. You brought in James Conner, who has the ability to not only run the ball, but catch the ball. And then you have Rodney Hudson. And now there's really no excuse. I think that this is going to be, as much as we're excited about Kyler Murray taking maybe a Josh Allen type jump in year 3, this run game under Cliff Kingsbury, even though there's not any guys that are just going to blow you away. I mean, there's no top 10 running back in this organization, but this run game as a whole, you know, the sum of the pieces are greater than like with the parts, right? I don't know. I mean, it's the Arizona Cardinals run game has the ability to be the most special under Cliff Kingsbury. He's got his guy. You're laughing? Did I butcher that?
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get it right for me.
I think the whole is worth the sum of its parts. I believe.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you.
It's greater than the sum of its parts. Yeah. No, and I agree. Listen, I mean, when it comes down to it all, and this is no disrespect towards the last 2 years, this is an adult football team. This is an NFL team that's balanced more than we've seen.
Right.
From Justin Pugh not having as much pressure on him to Budda Baker, you know, rising the ranks of safeties in the NFL. You know, we see the floor has raised predominantly on the offensive and defensive lines with J.J. Watt and Rodney Hudson. You brought some adults into the room that weren't Chandler Jones and an overpaid Jordan Phillips at this point, who wasn't able to stay on the field for a good portion of last season. The cornerback room is obviously a question, but the wide receiver room got a little bit better. The running back room probably stayed the same, but the linebackers got a little bit more athletic. So, I mean, the balance is there way more than it's ever been, at least over, the last 5 or 7 years. And Kyler Murray is really the last main cog. Can he jump up to that next level? And we're going to talk about where the NFL execs have him and when they ranked their top 10 quarterbacks. I was wrong. Bo was right. It doesn't happen very often, but it happened here. We'll talk about that next, Locked On Cardinals. But first, Bo, I ordered my orange Built Bars. Now, here's the thing. For those that don't know about Built Bar, you obviously haven't been watching the podcast or listening for very long. Built Bar is the best tasting protein bar on the planet. They're all chocolate covered, okay? They've got their 9 main flavors. They've got their limited time flavors, which is the fun part. Built Grasshopper Cookie right now. Available. I believe it's still available, Bo. I need to double check.
Yeah. As supplies last, and I believe it's still around.
Okay, cool. So it's pretty much a Thin Mint cookie in a protein bar. 150 calories, 17 grams of protein, and only 5 grams of sugar. Like, and also, it's not like 100 bites. It's not this thing that's gonna, weigh you down. This thing is, bless you. This thing is 6 bites, and you're gonna wish that that you could eat more of it, because they really do taste incredible. I mean, some of the other flavors: coconut, cherry barcia, raspberry, mint brownie, double chocolate, salted caramel, strawberry orange, cookies and cream, German chocolate. Like, telling you, between 17 and 18 grams of protein, less than 180 calories, less than 5 grams of sugar, less than 5 grams of net carbs. Built Bar is where you want to be. Go to built.com, use promo code LOCKED15, and you get 15% off your order. Promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com.
They ripped off the Girl Scouts. Good for them. It tastes just like the damn cookie. It is.
That goes in to the outtake portion of Locked On Cardinals. They ripped off the damn Girl Scouts. Trademark. Alex Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked On Cardinals. Final segment here. Been teasing it all show. Kyler Murray finally gets his damn respect. We have people that actually watch games, that wear suits to games, and aren't sitting in a lab somewhere crunching numbers and not looking at, athletes as people that have tendencies and, have mistakes and perform better than they should sometimes. Kyler Murray is ranked 10th in the NFL execs top 10 list of NFL quarterbacks entering 2021. Now, Bo said, I think it was on Friday, that Kyler would probably be 10th. Is that what you said? And I said that he was going to be fringy, where a guy like Ben Roethlisberger or Matt Ryan would sneak into the top 10 in front of Kyler Murray. I was wrong, and Bo, you nailed it on the head.
Yeah, I mean, finally, and this is just projection. I mean, this is where NFL execs kind of see things going in 2021. It's not like you didn't just do this because he had a good first couple of years. It's just they see that Kyler Murray is on the rise. And when you're just kind of projecting things out, like, people probably made the mistake of not thinking about, hey, maybe Josh Allen takes a leap. If you were to look at, I'm sure, pre-2020 quarterback rankings, where do you think Josh Allen ranked before the season? It wasn't sniffing the top 10, that's for sure. And now he's a top 5 guy. As far as Kyler Murray's concerned, I think we were talking about this. He's a fringe top 10 quarterback going into last season. And I think that he proved with his 37 total touchdowns, his passing ability is right there on par with a lot of other quarterbacks. You mentioned Matt Ryan, Matthew Stafford. The statistics very comparable. But then you take into that edge, that other gear, running the football. And that's part of the game that people like to talk about with Allen and with Lamar Jackson. But yet they kind of use it as a negative, they stigmatize it for Kyler Murray because they're afraid he's going to get hit. But if you watch Kyler Murray play, he doesn't put himself in harm's way. Where he got injured last year was on a pass when he hurt his shoulder. It wasn't him up in the open field. He doesn't get squared up. He's very shifty. I think he's a top 10 guy, no doubt about it. And that's just you trying to use like that foresight. Like, okay, how's this going to project instead of this groupthink? It's like, okay, here are our guys. This is what they did last year, and this is what we can't get it creative and think, okay, this is what it's going to be next year.
Right. And that's the thing. And I go back to this, and it's unfair, but it really rips the Band-Aid off of size and ability to stay healthy. Darren Sproles, he had a freak. I think he broke his ankle his second year, and then he was healthy. He was just healthy. Played all the games. He was healthy. And I know he wasn't a quarterback, but he was small. He weighed less than Kyler, and he would just bounce off the turf, and he knew when to go down. He knew when to run out of bounds. He knew how to do those things. And Kyler is, and I've said this, and I'll continue to say it, it's the most elusive quarterback in the NFL because he takes the least amount of hits. It's just directly correlated between the two. And you're right. I mean, he got hit on a pass, and Kyler always knows. And he's already gotten flack for it. And I think it'll start to go away as we saw what happened last year, where how about Kyler Murray is not good for business for the Arizona Cardinals. It's okay if he takes 2 less yards on a run and slides. It's okay if he goes down. It's okay if he goes down and gives up a sack instead of throwing a potential interception. Not lose after losing 15 yards like he did his rookie year a handful of times. But Kyler knows his stature, and he's very smart. He's very aware. So I think that obviously, with us being closer to the situation, we are a little bit more lenient and we're a little bit more accepting to his size and how we can utilize it in a positive way, as opposed to it looking like a negative. But yeah, top 10. I mean, when it comes down to all of this, Bo, the only reason this has any sort of merit is because it's from execs, and it's not somebody just making a list in the middle of June like, oh, this should be fun. I'm bored. I have nothing to write about today. So for the other top 10, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady. So Tom Brady being there at 3 is kind of a linchpin in all of this, because he could have been 7. I mean, they could have, but at this point, he keeps winning Super Bowls. He's got to be up there. Russell Wilson 4, Josh Allen 5, Matthew Stafford 6, and Dak Prescott 7. You'll see a glaring omission here of Deshaun Watson, who is not even in the top 10. So you think that Deshaun Watson would have probably taken Kyler Murray's spot.
Probably.
But Deshaun Watson's not there. And, for obvious reasons. The Matthew Stafford, Dak Prescott 6, 7, with Lamar Jackson and Justin Herbert 8, 9. That really surprised me. With that, you see a floor higher with Matthew Stafford and Dak Prescott, more stability over their careers than Lamar Jackson and Justin Herbert, has only played 1 year. Do you agree with those?
I don't agree with Stafford at all. I don't agree that Stafford is a better quarterback than Dak Prescott. I don't know what universe that was done. Do you think Sean McVay would even take Matthew Stafford over the quarterbacks that are ranked behind him?
No. I mean, I think Justin Herbert's the wave of the future. I mean, he's Josh Allen in his 3rd year after his rookie year. Yeah.
I mean, I just don't understand why the heck they would do that. As far as I don't understand what they're seeing. I mean, it finally got its due. It finally was called out yesterday. And I talked to Matt Derry on the Locked On NFL podcast, who covered Stafford for so many years. And he's like, look, let's not crown him just yet. We kind of know who Matthew Stafford is. It's for some reason we think that he's in the right situation and he's going to finally just emerge and just be this absolute just stud quarterback. But Matthew Stafford has been a part of the problem just as much as he hasn't been. I don't know. I think it's a pretty good ranking for Kyler Murray. He has ability to kind of approach the top 5, but there are some guys that are entrenched there. But it's good for the Arizona Cardinals. It's all about your ability to impact the game and win football games. And he has that. He just has so many ways that he can kill you. We know that it with him, when he kind of disappeared a little bit down the stretch, that the Arizona Cardinals suffered mightily. But we know what he's capable of doing.
One thing that we need to continue to remind everybody, last year's schedule was a college football schedule compared to what the Arizona Cardinals are going to face this year. It wasn't just the teams they played. It was the backup quarterbacks that they played. It was the star players that the other teams did not have. And the Cardinals stayed healthy for the majority of the season, save Chandler Jones and Kyler Murray the last couple of weeks. We are going to, without a doubt, know where Kyler Murray stands after the 2021 season. It is going to be a murderer's row of quarterbacks and wide receiver ones that the Cardinals are going to play against. And it's going to come down to Kyler Murray's ability to put up points that will really be the true test of if the Cardinals can make it to the playoffs and take that next step forward. Alex, Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked On Cardinals. We will talk.